Okay, so look at the garden. And little daughter B has gone into the next door's house to play with their kids. And little daughter Ocean is asleep over there under those blankets. And I've done a bit of writing today for the first time in a while. But even so, I'm just going to speak off the cuff again without really knowing what to say. Because I think it's a really fine example of what I'm trying to say. One of the things that I'm saying is I don't think undercover cops is the big problem here. I don't think fracking in itself is the big problem. It's part of a problem that's reared its head lately. But the big problem that's wrong here has been going on since longer than anybody knows for sure, maybe. And what I'd like to talk about that's got to do with the fracking and the environmental problems and all the social problems and the Armageddon destruction of the world revelations type of story that's knocking around in the world. Well, it's money that's at the back of that, the monetary system. So some people are out on the road trying to stop trucks, and some police are trying to make it possible that the trucks can go about their business because they have a license. And people are being very upset with the police because the police are doing their duty as far as they're concerned to allow the people who have a license to make their deliveries and do their fracking and get on with making money, because that's what's going on in the world. That's money makes the world spin around. Money doesn't grow on trees. Little Ocean's awake and laughing. So the truck drivers are driving trucks not because they want to destroy the planet, but because they want to earn the money to feed their kids or to pay for what they have to do. And you can't really live in this Western world, in this society, without money any more than you can live in this world without a birth certificate and a bank account and all the other things at this stage. Now that's a belief in our mind, but that's a collective belief. There's a social license for that belief. If you go around taking things without paying for them in this world, even though they're on display everywhere, if your child goes into a shop barely able to walk, and while you're at the checkout, all these sweets and chocolates and little toys have been placed right in front of the child at his height or her height, so that they pick up this item and they want it because it's a nice size and it's got nice colours and it's got an interesting feel and they can hold it in their hand. And if they walk out without paying for that, then you're accused of stealing it. And if an ordinary member of the public points it out to an ordinary member of the public who happens to be an employee of the shop, then they can call the police, and the police can have you arrested and even probably take your fucking children off you, just because your children or your child naively and innocently took something without understanding how money works and how evil the consequences of money can be. How you doing, Ocean? Looking good. So the truck buyer, the truck driver, the policeman, the guy sinking the well, the guy doing the drilling, all the people who are doing their jobs are only doing those jobs to get the money. Otherwise it wouldn't be called a job. You do a job in order to get money, so that you can pay for the cost of living. The cost of living is losing your life. The mortgage, death, gauge, measure. The measure of my death, in plain speak English. But mortgage is a legalese word. It's a word that means something in the legalese language. And roughly in English they say it translates to a death pledge. You're taking on a debt and you're pledging your life on that debt because your life depends on your home. My life depends on my home. Without my home, I'll be begging on the streets, and if I'm begging on the streets, anyone who's got a job is going to walk past me as if I have a social disease. And we all know this is true because we all see it happen every day, and the odd individual reaches out, but the vast sea of humanity, caught up in admiralty law, knows unconsciously that unless they stay working their job, they'll end up on the streets. Now, if they can't pay for food, they'll end up in jail, and when they're kicked out of jail, they'll be on the streets. Because it's very hard to pay a mortgage if you've lost your job and you've just spent time in jail. And this is happening every day. People are getting run through the mill by the police and the whole monetary system. Now, I'm a bit triggered by reading all the comments and all the opinion and hearing all the things that are being said to the police by middle class people kind of thing. People who don't know what it's like to live on the streets, in other words. I don't mean it as an insult. Nobody should know what it's like to have to live on the streets. But I've lived on the streets at times, and I've spent a lot of time with people who live on the streets. And to be abused by the police as if you're interfering with everybody's God-given right to make loads of money. To be marginalised. Oh, you haven't got a job, so you're getting in the way of people who do. You're not playing along with the system, or you're not succeeding in the system, so you have no rights and privileges. And the marginalised people and the people on the street and the gypsies and everyone else who's ever been marginalised, they're there to serve as an absolute reminder to everyone else that you better toe the line with this corrupt system, otherwise you'll end up on the streets. So the real problem with fracking is money. The real problem with the police isn't just what's going on at Barton Moss. The real problem with that is that it's going on everywhere, and it's been going on for hundreds of years. The police are soldiers. The police work for a military government. The government is a military institution. It's run by money. They're all departments. Hey, honey, do you want to get up? You do, don't you? The Chief Secretary to the Treasury, Lord Admiral, whatever, all these people in the House of Lords, they're all in an admiralty system of currency. They've all inflicted that system upon people who don't understand that system. They've spread their understanding of this system as if it's the saviour of the world. And it's their understanding of this system that's destroying the world. Oh. Woohoo! What's that? That's the unknown out there, little ocean. That's the world out there, and I got them thinking about the sea of commerce. The seedy realm of commerce and usury and the charging of interest and the demanding of tax. If you don't pay the tax, you'll end up out in the streets. Yeah. 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 Do you understand about money and usury? Did you come to this planet, enter into this little body, all excited to learn how to crawl and walk? Did you come down here to be enslaved by the mind of money? By a system that believes that if you don't have money, then you have no rights and privileges. Did you come into this world so that you could live by a false doctrine, worship a false idol because money is a false idol, and be mind controlled by a false belief that says that you have to do things that don't feel true? Did you come into this world, did you choose me so that I would go away from you for 8 or 10 hours every day to work for money? 8 or 10 or 14 or 18 hours a day to work for money? Or did you come into this world and choose me so that we can hang out together and learn and share love and grow naturally and resonate truth and follow the will of God, whatever that means in terms of the word God, but be true to love is what I'd imagine the will of God is supposed to mean. Be true to love. I don't know about all you people. Woohoo! But I find in my relationship that stresses about money can trigger the ego into having arguments that are completely fear-based about what might happen if we don't turn up with the money on time for whatever the money is needed for, so that we don't lose our home. Because that's happened in my life quite a few times, that if money wasn't produced pretty quickly, then there'd be no home. Or as it stands at the minute in our personal lives, if money isn't produced quite quickly to pay for a deposit, 2.5 grand to pay a deposit for a 1.5 bedroom flat. And if we can't get that 2.5 grand in the next few days, then someone else will take that flat. And we haven't got any rich relations, and we haven't got any savings. And sure enough, today, there's a bit of an argument about money. Now, I'm not standing up for the argument. I don't think my missus in all truth is standing up for the argument. But somehow the system is that insidious that despite everything we've been agreeing for weeks about finding a place, when the ego triggers in and the issue of money proves that it's a vicious, bad world out there, then arguments can happen. So in the same way, what's going on in Barton Moss is like that, yeah? The analogy is the same. The world is our home. For the people up in Barton Moss is their home. And for money has come in with the idea that it can steal something from underneath the land and claim to own it. In claiming to own it, it can claim it has the right to sell it. In claiming to sell it, it claims there's profit to be made. And in claiming there's profit to be made, in gainful employment, then democracy allows, by admiralty law, to supersede the natural law. So there's a grave danger that the land and the water and the air and the ley lines will be seriously damaged by fracking. And now what I'm seeing going on is people being really angry at police and relatively angry at truck drivers, as if it's their fault that the monetary system has control of everyone. And so the money is setting people against people. And people who've lived comfortably with money all their lives so far, people who've had enough money to not go hungry and not end up in the streets, are apparently very shocked at how the police treat people who don't care enough about money. So you've believed the propaganda, you people. You've believed the propaganda that the police are there to protect you. Because when you have money, they are there to protect you. But they're only there to protect whoever's the richest. They're only there to protect whoever can afford the best lawyers. or whoever has enough influence to influence the highest judges. What do you think, Ocean? When you're big enough to walk, if you're big enough to walk, should we bring you to the protest site like we did with Bea when she was 2? Do you want to come to the protest sites with us? And we show them what direct being is about. There's direct action, yeah, and then there's direct being, I suppose, isn't there? What's the idea with just being in the place and being in love in the place and not letting money turn you against other people and treat them as if they're soulless and treat them as if their uniform is more powerful than who they truly are, and to attack their outer uniform and claim that you have the higher moral ground? Plain and simple, man, what I'd like to see being discussed with regard to fracking and stopping trucks and stopping licences, I'd like to talk about the law, and I'd like for the law to be able to be discussed as part of the strategy and how to stop fracking. Not the law of let's go to lasers or Lysers or Lazarus or whatever it is the name of this legal company that's being used. Lysers, I don't know what it is. And not common law of so-called free man movement, but the older things than the free man movement, the older thing than 1066. What was going on here before the Normans taught you all how to be tricked? So far, the majority of the will of the people is fooled by money into thinking that they've got to side with the big guys and that democracy works. And what's going on in the Ukraine is Russia's fault, not democracy's fault. To think that what's going on in the Parliament is David Cameron's fault. It's got fuck all nothing to do with David Cameron. He's a disc jockey. He's given speeches and he's told what to say. He's a racehorse who raced in a political race. That's what they call it back at the time. It's a race for who gets to be Prime Minister. And the man was driven around from place to place to place to place to place and told what to say, and he said what he said and he won. Apparently. But that didn't put him in control of anything. He's not in control of anything. He's not even in control of what he says. But the vast will of people still sides with the system. And fracking's great because at least people are questioning the system and going, oh, look, this system doesn't serve us at all. It's a really clear example of how the system does not serve the earth and does not serve the people, and how the government doesn't serve the country it represents. It's merely there to sign pieces of paper representing the country and selling all resources of all countries to the people who set up the monetary system. Here, Ocean, do you want to go for a little walk? That's nearly 20 minutes. That's 19 minutes there now. Yeah, come on, we go inside. Right, thanks for watching again, everyone. Anyway, I'm really delighted with how those first few videos have been received, and nobody's attacked me for speaking my mind yet. Hopefully nobody will attack me for speaking my mind. But for sure, anyone who does attack me is trying to defend something, and I'm not attacking whatever it is they think they're defending. But anyway, maybe everybody just agrees with me because I have such a great way of speaking, I don't know. Should we find out as time goes on? Blessed be, peace, love, plenty of time.